Because of the miracles of Jesus, crowds started following Jesus. And he couldn't get away to a solitary place because these people would be following him to have their needs met. Late one night, Jesus was healing people. And early the next day, before daybreak, he gets up to go to an isolated place to pray. But he wasn't there for very long before Simon and the others came to find him. And when they found him, they exclaimed, "Lord, everyone's looking for you," as if to say, why are you here? You should be back there healing more people like you did the night before. But Jesus never let the crowd sway him. He always did the Father's will, and he knew his purpose. And so he answered by saying, we must go to other places to preach and to people who need me, because that is why I have come. So they set off. They set off from Capernaum, which is the northwest of Galilee, into other areas of Galilee to preach and teach in the synagogue. Galilee had about 250 villages and several hundred people in each village. They had many synagogues, and it was very handy for Jesus to go into these synagogues and preach and teach and cast out demons. While they were on their way to an area in Galilee, they were approached by a leper. Now, a leper is a person who has a serious skin disease. He was debilitated, he was crippled, and he was, in most cases, highly contagious. He would have looked like torn clothes. He would have had hair that was loose and unkempt. He would have worn a cloth over his lip, which to me nowadays is like a mask. And he was to call out to people whenever he would see people. He would have to say, unclean, unclean, identifying himself. So it's kind of like he wore a label. He was a leper and he was unclean. To be declared unclean, he was declared unclean by the priest, who then had him go outside of camp, and he lived outside of camp just like a homeless person, leaving his family, his friends, his synagogue, his job even. He was ostracized. It was thought by many that God gave him this disease because of a sin that he had committed. So he was utterly unclean, meaning he was both physically and spiritually unclean. And he was desperate. He knew that he could only be restored back to his village if the disease was gone. And how was that going to happen? Living outside of town without any medical help? He was hopeless. And so he comes to Jesus in this hopeless, desperate state. And he kneels at Jesus' feet and begs Jesus. And he says, Lord, if you are willing, you can clean me. Well, he must have known something about Jesus' miracles. He must have heard about it. To be that sure that Jesus was the one who could give him hope. Jesus looks at him. He looks at him not as a leper, not as labeled unclean. He looks at him as a human being. He looks at him as a child of God. And he looks at him with compassion and pity. He does the unthinkable. And he reaches out and he touches him. And he says to him, I am willing. Be clean. I wonder how long it had been since that leper had a human touch. When was the last time that he held his wife's hand, or he hugged his child, or stood next to a fellow worshiper in the synagogue praising God? How long had it been that he was touched by a human, let alone the Son of God? And he was instantly clean, instantly healed. So Jesus says to him, gives him strict instruction. Don't tell anyone, but go, do what is written in the law of Moses found in Leviticus 13 and 14, and do what you need to do, make an offering in order to be restored to the village. So he goes away, but on the way, he begins to tell. I mean, wouldn't we tell? And he's excited about it. He tells everyone, and the people, again, more and more people, it just fueled people to flock to Jesus, where now Jesus couldn't even go into the village, but people were meeting him even outside of the village to get their needs met. When I think about this story, this miracle, I think that we were also unclean. If you think about it, before Jesus, we were like the leper. We were unclean because of our sin. It says in Isaiah 64, all are like one who is unclean, and our righteous acts are like filthy rags. Meaning we can't do anything that will earn righteousness. Doesn't matter how well we do, that we only have the hope of Jesus, the one who will take all of our unrighteousness and with his touch make us clean. And when he does, we are redeemed, we are restored, and we are made new. Jesus' touch is absolutely miraculous.